my pleasure to introduce Kevin Rowe. Over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Bob. Let's see, show my screen here. Oh, show all my email. Here we go. So thank you all for taking the time out today. Much appreciated. As Bob mentioned, my name's Kevin Rowe. I work out of the GMG Americas office in Hingham, Massachusetts, about 20 minutes south of Boston. I've been with the company about 12 years. GMG partnered with Printfactory 5 years ago or so, and we realized Printfactory was a incredible front-end RIP workflow solution for large format printing, and we saw the opportunity to help them out as part of with our color management. So from America's standpoint, GMG is the main or the sole distributor of Printfactory, and of course it's powered with GMG color. So we'll try to talk to a few of the things that make Printfactory unique compared to competitive solutions or other solutions out there. The big difference is, we consider Printfactory a workflow, and really the only large format workflow out there to communicate to all of your printers and all of your cutters running on any Mac or PC. There is a RIP as part of the solution, but it is a software suite of tools for you to complete your large format production needs. We kind of compare it, I guess, back in the day, large format, quote unquote, relatively new in the industry, to offset printing, when you would have workflow solutions out there such as Printergy for offset printing, where it kind of ran the entire shop through ripping and trapping and impositioning and driving the plate setters and so forth. So we kind of consider ourselves maybe even a little bit beyond that type of workflow solution. Part of the workflow solution is GMG color management integrated into Printfactory, where we can provide the same color on all of your printers at any time and every time. I'll speak more to that. Actually, I might jump out of this presentation here and there to make it a little bit less PowerPoint-ish. But we have our own patented gamut mapping strategy that we use to make sure that regardless of which printer you're connected to or printing on, which substrate you're on, you're going to get the best common color appearance that you can across all of those printers and substrates, using the GMG color management piece. And it used to be back in the day, 25 years ago, when color management started with GMG, that it would take a sort of a degree in color science in order to use some of our tools. We've expanded quite a bit beyond that to make it very easy for anyone to create GMG quality color profiles and calibrations for any large format device. So with that said, I'll touch on a little bit more about GMG color management and how do we do that. It's hard to visualize that in a PowerPoint, but if we take a look at how typical or how a large format device would look like from a color standpoint, we have our target color space here. In this case, it's Grackle. And that's a lot what we do. We target one common color space, in this case, Grackle. Grackle's an industry standard, great neutrals, great flesh tones, great blues and greens for skies and grass and so forth. So it's a great target to shoot for. If you just print out CMYK on your device and don't have a target, then you're probably not getting the best color you could. So we target Grackle. Grackle in this case is much larger than the large format device can accomplish. We've just GMG color management has found the color capabilities of this particular device on that particular substrate, and it can hit other colors outside of Grackle, but particularly in the shadow areas, we're not going to be able to achieve that. In the blues here, the output device is able to achieve the orange. The output device is able to achieve better than Grackle. But what most RIP manufacturers will do, most color management solutions will do, they'll either use an absolute or perceptual rendering intent, where they're either clipping and smashing the color into the or just clipping the outer edges and leaving everything else where it may. That could be really problematic. You'd get no tonality here if you just clipped in your shadow areas. Your red apple would look like a child painted it out here, and the edges, if you just clipped that, there'd be no detail in that outer saturated areas. So most people will go with the perceptual rendering intent, and then that's going to smash this whole thing or compress every single color in here into the gamut that's available of the printer. And that works to get you some somewhat pleasing color, but we have a better way to do it to make sure that we're getting the most consistent color, or the most we'll call it common appearance, the best common appearance across all devices and substrates that we can. What we'll do is we'll do very minimal clipping just on the very outer edges. And then, for example, here in the blues, we really don't need to do any compression or any smashing, if you will, any compression. So we'll virtually leave that alone. But over here, we'll need to do a little clipping and then some compression. So we'll leave everything that we can in the grackle color space. So your quarter tone neutrals stay targeted towards grackle at that exact spec, but your 3/4 and your shadows are going to be adjusted for the best visual appearance. So that's just a quick look at one of our big differentiators for making sure that all your devices with all your substrates are going to be matching each other. We're also creating a PMM very simply and easily, typically in less than an hour, for that particular printer media and mode, PMM. So it's unique to your device. You're not downloading an ICC profile from a web that was created how many years ago on what device. Was it the real substrate that you're using or not? We create those PMMs using our wizard tool specific for your device, which is another big increase. Additionally, for spot colors, brand colors, we're not going to do any compression for there. If you're printing Home Depot orange, we're going to make sure that no matter what printer media and mode you're printing on, you're getting the best match to that Home Depot orange that you can. We're not going to do any gamut mapping to that. We're going to give you the best match that we can. So the customer's brand colors, spot colors are going to be, you're going to be assured you're getting the best possible match you can. We're not going to smash that down into the grackle color space. So color management. So then as a sort of byproduct of the GMG color management, what we found particularly with inkjet devices, that if we apply large amounts of GCR, UCR, our own proprietary flavor of it, we're able to get you the same color fidelity, but more consistency, more stability. And as a byproduct, you're saving upwards of 20% ink compared to other solutions. So, more saturation doesn't necessarily mean more ink. Better neutrals doesn't necessarily mean more ink. We're able to, through our experience, over 25 years driving inkjet printers, we know that if we can apply the right amount, which is typically a heavy amount of GCR, UCR, we're able to give you the best color fidelity, as well as, as like I said, a byproduct, you're saving up to 20% ink, and that's included with Printfactory. There's no option for that. So as I mentioned, GMG color management's built in. It's one of the tools that we use inside Printfactory. The other tools that you have at your disposal is the editor. The editor is the actual interface to the system. It looks a lot like Illustrator. We'll take a look at it, where we do some error checking or job checking, make sure that that it looks the way we want. We can do some last minute edits, job preparation. So the editor is a tool that we provide that allows you to prepare your jobs. You could put in grommet marks, you could do tiling, you could add a white channel. All of these things are actually can be handled not only with the editor, but also with our API. So if you have an MIS system and you type it, you put in a certain rule, that MIS system can spit out a XML that we can translate to our language and apply those changes. So the editor essentially is what we're using to create the XML for the job instructions, so that the RIP can carry out those instructions. Same with the layout. The layout is also a tool that we use to create that XML. So you can do that visually through the editor and layout using our tool, or you could do it in a more automated way with your MIS system to just push jobs through, with some predefined settings. So the editor is that one-up job preparation, tiling, grommet marks, and so forth. And then we use layout to lay the job out. How many copies? What's the sheet size? Do we want to nest jobs together? How do we want them cut? Is it going to be manually cut? Is it going to be cut on a flatbed cutter? We'll do that. We'll set that job up in layout. Of course, then once we're done with the layout, we'll send it, we submit the job, and that job goes to the RIP. Again, when you're in editor, working in editor and layout, there's no progress bar, because what we're doing is we're just creating XML instruction. We send that to the RIP, which is typically on a different computer, whether it's a Mac or PC. Then thereby the original file gets copied to the RIP along with that XML instruction. Thereby the operators that are preparing jobs will not be waiting for a progress bar for the job to be scaled or rotated or 100 copies up and so forth. The calibrator is another tool that we use. That's where we create the PMM and we recalibrate the device to make sure, in a month from now, if you're reprinting a job, you can recalibrate and make sure that you're going to get the exact same color. And we do that through a report card that you get back that gives you a green light or a red light to tell you whether or not you're within your color is going to be accurate or not. And then all in one swoop through the RIP, we're going to do a print and cut, so we can prepare our jobs in layout, do for not just printing, but also for cutting. So within the layout and or the editor, we can prepare where the file is going to be cut. So the editor, we'll focus a little bit on the editor. If we take a look on the left side here, we've got a JPEG that needs to be converted to a flag. We've got a PDF that needs to be printed for a billboard. This is a banner, I believe, and then we've got a point of sale display that we need to prepare to send to our printers. So if I send that into the editor, and I can set up templates that I could just drop these files into hot folders and have it automatically done. But if you don't have those templates created yet, or you need to create them, you can use the editor. And we've got an example here of creating that flag. So in order for us to create the flag, we're going to scale the job size up to its actual size. We're always working at 100%. We have an error checking tool. In this case, it found and it's going to fix an error where white text is set to overprint. Our finishing tool can add folds and bleeds and grommets in a matter of seconds, which in Illustrator may take you a few minutes. We can do it in a matter of seconds. Next thing I need to do is just choose my printer and my media. I'm going to also choose which cutter I'm going to be sending it to. In this case, it's a Zund. I'm going to choose the material I'm going to be cutting it on. We go into layout. We set our media size, how many copies we want to print. And then once I hit submit here, and this goes really quick, I choose my barcodes, registration marks. So we've just, so it went really quick. So it just, once we hit submit, it sends the print job to the printer. It's at the same time, it sends the cut file to the cutter. Because we've included barcodes and registration marks on there. At the cutter side, if you've got a barcode reader, you scan the print job after it's done printing, calls up the right job with the right tooling. You're guaranteed you're not going to cut the wrong file because it's all from one system. Again, reiterating that that it's an entire workflow, not just a RIP. We take a look at this job. This is an example of our tiling. In this case, it's a billboard. It could be for a wall display at a mall. Again, we're always going to work at 100% size. I need to tile this in order for it to be able to print on my printer. So I'm going to use my tiling tool and divide horizontally and vertically. I can define the number of tiles. I can divide the size of the tiles. I can also define my overlaps, if it's going to be left, right, top, and bottom. We hit submit. We also support the cutters like the Fotoba cutter. So we can create automatic Fotoba cut files, cut lines within the print job. Again, once I hit submit, the file gets printed in accordance to that, that tiling. And important to note, with the tiling tool, we also can print out a report that you can send along with the job that tells you the tile ID. It gives you a graphic of what the tile looks like and where it needs to be placed, so that the people that are mounting the billboard or the store display, window mount or car wrap, they know where it goes on the actual wall or car. So that's the tiling tool. And again, all of these components can be automated using your MIS system or templates created where you can just drop the file into a hot folder and all these things are carried out. Here's a job that's interesting where we're going to create a banner, and it was originally created for offset. The file came in with crop marks already in the file. So it's very common, created for offset, but it needs to be printed out for large format. So we're just going to do a quick crop and then adjust the document size. Here we're defining which printer and media it goes on. Now we can adjust the size to actual final size. In this case, we'll scale it 1000%. We'll again use our finishing tool. I'm going to create a frame around it so I know where it needs to be folded. We can add bleeds, and those bleeds can be stretched, mirrored, or solid color. We'll automatically add grommet marks and place the grommet marks equidistant from each other. You can define how many grommet marks you want or the distance between them. Here in layout, tell how many copies we need. In this case, it's going to use the Fotoba cutter and put those Fotoba marks on there again. We could, of course, send it to the Zund if necessary as well. So that's how you would create a banner. This last case is an example of the point of purchase display, of how you would prepare a point of purchase display within Printfactory, the editor. Same thing, we're going to choose the printer and the media. And then we'll choose which cutter we're going to go to and which material we're going to be printing it on. In this case, the cut files were already prepared, so layout doesn't create them. So we're going to define one cut path as a through cut, the other one as a crease cut. And then we'll go right into layout, tell it how many copies we want. And additionally, if we printed it like this, it's going to waste a lot of media. So we'll use our true shape nesting feature to optimize media usage by taking advantage of the blank space. And then that layout, of course, has registration marks and a barcode on there for the Zund cutter or Kongsberg, so that you can scan the barcode, the right job comes up, and you're not going to cut the wrong file. So, we've got a very great suite of tools,